So I want to ask a quick question. Does that make sense to you guys? So look at the column on the left, and that's a major, right? So people go to university, they take majors, and then they get a job. That's good, right? So that kind of matches up, makes sense. Anybody disagree with that? Don't see any hands, so that sounds right. Okay? But when you look at it, that's the actual study that a group of people did. That's the major, and that's the job that those people had. Mind-blowing, right? I love that, mind-blowing. I don't know what it is, but mind-blowing. And that's amazing to me because people see this linear kind of, let's just go and do a major and let's get a job, right? Let's get a job and a major. So I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about career chaos and how some of this stuff can start to be more real and how we can start to think for ourselves a little bit. So I'm going to ask one of the students, that's my baby right here. So where are you going to go to school whenever you're done?
I'm at Carleton right now, and I'll be in Algonquin next year.
All right, so what's your major?
Right now, psychology and women's studies, next year, baking and pastry art.
All right, and then what are you going to do after that?
I have no idea. I haven't decided yet.
All right, anybody else? So who else is going to go to school here next year? So who's going to go to school? Where are you going to go after? Yep. Yep.
University somewhere in Canada.
Okay. And what are you going to take?
Music or science.
Okay. And then what are you going to do? And then what are you going to do after that? Once you get your degree, what are you going to do? Get a job? Get a job, right? So that's the kind of questions you get every day of your life. You get that over and over and over again. And then you grow up, and then you go to a party and it says, you know, you meet somebody, you don't really know who they are, and it says, what is your degree in? Right? So what did you get a degree in? What do you do for a living? And really, all they're trying to figure out all the time is what defines you, right? Who are you? Are you a doctor? Are you a garbage man? Should I talk to you? Should I waste my time? I don't know, right? But that's the question that we continually ask. Whether you're a student in school, once you grow up, you're continually asking, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So I'm going to start from the beginning. So we start from the beginning. Everybody's in a little shell, right? Everybody's protected. And all of a sudden, you begin to think that there's so many choices out there. So what you're seeing in front of you are actual jobs that kids from 4 to 6 have actually talked to me about. And this is what they say to me every day when I go into schools and I ask them, what are you going to be whenever you grow up? It's unbelievable the choices that are there, right? So here's some of the top ones that I had a good laugh at. So I mean professional colorer, who wouldn't want to be that? That's a great idea. President, I had a little star around because these were all Canadian children, so I think we have another problem in the school. Video game player, great job, right? People do that for a living. Amazing. Then, right, we get out of the shell and we go from elementary school to high school, and that's supposed to make us get big ideas, right? And you get bigger ideas, and you go, and then you're supposed to jump out into the world. So I moved from a small community to a large city, big ideas. No, not really. Your world actually gets very small, because no longer do you ever think that you're going to be the professional colorer that you maybe once thought you were. No longer do you think that you were going to be the superhero that maybe you once were. And you heard it today, sometimes I wear spandex and fight crime. So the reality of it all is that this is what happens year after year after year. People forget their dreams. People go into jobs that they don't even love. And an unbelievable amount of people go into jobs that they just, I need a job. And I had a major, and this is what I'm doing now. So, and it all starts here, right? Little kid runs up to an adult. Adult's supposed to be inspiring for that young kid to do whatever they want. So young runs up and he says, my teacher says, when I grow up, I can do anything I want. And of course, the adult goes, oh, she did she? And then they begin to laugh, because they know in their own dark little world that that's not true. You can't. But I'm here to tell you today that you can, because I've done it, and I've seen many people do it. So we'll start with a few sad stories, and then we'll move into some happy stories. So sad stories, what do you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up? I go into schools and I ask kids this all the time. And I put up on the blackboard, I put up a sheet, and it's got all kinds of different jobs and that kind of thing in behind it. But I cover it up so they can't see it. And then I ask, I say, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? Invariably, these top 10 come up all the time, right? So teacher, actress, dentist, doctor, lawyer, the usual, right? The usual suspects. Every once in a while, you get a superhero still. Every once in a while, you still get an astronaut. But invariably, it's those 10 that come up. So what I do is I write them all down on the board, And then I say to the kids, I'm gonna blow your mind. I rip down my sheet that says doctor, dentist, lawyer, all those things. And they go, how did you know that's what I wanted to be? Because that's what every kid around the world wants to be, because that's what we've told them they can be. Here's your options, here's your limits. So I did a little survey. I asked the kids, I said, what is your best subject? So AKA, what's the one you get the best grade in? What subject do you like the most? And then, what do you want to be when you grow up? So, not a bad survey. We asked a couple other 100 questions around that, but that's really the only 3 that I wanted. 88% matched their best course with what they wanted to do when they grew up. Amazing, outstanding. Only 5% ever said that if they liked gym the best, that that's what they were going to incorporate into what they wanted to do when they grew up. Only 5% ever thought of that. So you think about that, kids get in there and they get the pat on the back and the gold star and the A and all that good stuff, and that's what they're going to do? To me, that's a little concerning. So people go to university then, and they get the piece of paper, right? Oh, yeah, hallelujah! That piece of paper is going to give me a job. That's going to quit in a second. Yep, there we go. So they're going to get a job, right? So I'm really amazed at this. I coach rugby at the University of Ottawa, and I coach hockey at Carleton University, which means that not only do I get to kind of see what students are doing in both schools, but I get to see hundreds of students every day. And I'm also an academic coach, so I get to see thousands of students every year. And they all come to me, and they wipe out my Kleenex boxes invariably when they hit year 2 and year 3. They come into my office, and I might have 15 boxes of Kleenex, they're all gone. Because they all come in and they all go, oh, I don't know what to do with this piece of paper. And they don't know what kind of a job to get, right? They just have no clue. So then we talk them through it and we do the happy story stuff. And the saddest part is that I asked one young lady maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and she came into my office and she was crying and I emptied out one box. And then I asked her this question. And this is the saddest part of the story and the saddest part of anything I've ever done. I asked her this question. I said, what do you like to do? You know what she did? She looked at me and she said, you're the first person that's ever asked me that question. And I almost fell off my chair. I sat there and I thought, wow, that's amazing. You mean from the age that you're 4, so you jump into elementary school and you go all the way through, and you go to high school, you go to elementary school, you go to high school, you go to university, and I'm the first person that's ever asked you what you like to do? I'm not the first person that said, hey, good for you. You get an A for being good in math. Right? So she had no clue. She had done 2 years of a university degree, and she didn't know if she liked it or not. So we had a long discussion about that. So here's the happy endings to most of those stories. So in the study that we talked about, we looked at 100 kids, and I said, I'm going to ask you, what do you like to do until you're blue in the face answering that, until you're absolutely sure, 100%. I asked 50 kids that question, and I worked with 50. The other 50, we just kind of said, well, good luck, see you, you're on your own. Control group, right? So 48 out of 50 that we worked with, and we continually asked them, what do they like to do, what do they like to do? How do you match that with what you want to be, that kind of questioning? 48 out of 50 picked and stayed their course all the way through university. Because they took the time when they were young to figure that out, they picked and stayed the course. Most of them are in jobs that they still like. There's maybe a couple that have switched out. 26 out of 50 of the group that we never touched, and we just said, go and do whatever you like. They took the route of, well, I'm good at math, so I'm going to go and be a mathematician. Never once thinking, what do I like to do? So, our second story, I changed. So the girl that was 2 years in, I asked her what she liked to do. Boom, changed jobs, changed degrees, changed jobs, everything, her whole mindset. Because I was the first person that ever asked her to do that. Now she's happy as can be, and she's traveling all over the world, working in women's studies. She was also studying religion, but realized that actually when we started to look at it, that really her mother was a minister, and that there was tons of other people in her life that had done religion, but she didn't really know why she did religion. She just, that was a fit. I quit ×3. Very amazing story. So I go into the schools, right? I do these things. I put up the chalkboard stuff. And then I look at them and I say, I thought, who do you think my audience would be for that? It would be the teenagers in the class, right? That would make sense, right? I quit ×3. 3 teachers have quit their job after I've done doing that presentation. One teacher came to me and said, I really want to talk to you about the staff room. She was 43 years old. She had been in that profession for over 20 years. She had been teaching. She had no idea what she liked to do. I got a call from her husband actually a couple days after that. But why don't we do some of this stuff? Why don't we follow our passions? Because we all have fears. We all have fears of failure, right? It's fears of anything, fears of money, fears of time, energy, whatever it is, but invariably it comes down to fears of failure. I won't talk too much more about that because I think this video is going to show you something here.
Dismissed from drama school with a note that read, "Wasting her time. She's too shy to put her best foot forward." Turned down by the Decca recording company who said, "We don't like their sound and guitar music is on the way out." A failed soldier, farmer, and real estate agent. At 38 years old, he went to work for his father as a handyman. Cut from the high school basketball team, he went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. A teacher told him he was too stupid to learn anything, and he should go into a field where he might succeed by virtue of his pleasant personality. Fired from a newspaper because he lacked imagination and had no original ideas. His fiancée died, he failed in business twice, he had a nervous breakdown, and he was defeated in 8 elections. If you've never failed, you've never lived.
Who are these people? Like, is Michael Jordan any better than us? Like, when did he discover that, oh, I actually like basketball and maybe I'm going to keep playing it, right? Did he just wake up one day and was amazing? Obviously not. Was Walt Disney just imaginally creative? No, probably not. So he had to fight through it. He had to be passionate about it, right? He had to figure that stuff out. So if they didn't give up, why should you? That's my question. And this is the way I see the game as it is now. I'm going to show you a short clip of this one, and we probably won't finish it. But
in music, one doesn't make the end of a composition the point of the composition. If that were so, the best conductors would be those who played fastest. And there would be composers who wrote only finales. People go to a concert just to hear one crashing chord, because that's the end. But we don't see that as something brought by our education into our everyday conduct. We've got a system of schooling which gives a completely different impression. It's all graded. And what we do is we put the child into the corridor of this grade system with a kind of, come on, kitty, kitty, kitty. And yeah, you go to kindergarten, you know. And that's a great thing because when you finish that, you'll get into first grade. And then, come on, first grade leads to second grade, and so on, and then you get out of grade school, you've got high school, and it's revving up, the thing is coming. Then you're going to go to college, and by Jove, then you get into graduate school, and when you're through with graduate school, you go out to join the world. And then you get into some racket where you're selling insurance, and they've got that quota to make, and you're going to make that, and all the time, this thing is coming. It's coming, that great thing, the success you're working for. Then when you wake up one day about 40 years old, you say, my God, I've arrived. I'm there. And you don't feel very different from what you always felt. And there's a slight letdown because you feel there's a hoax. And there was a hoax, a dreadful hoax. They made you miss everything. We thought of life by analogy with a journey, with a pilgrimage, which had a serious purpose at the end, and the thing was to get to that end, success or whatever it is, or maybe heaven after you're dead. But we missed the point the whole way along. It was a musical thing, and you were supposed to sing or to dance while the music was being played.
So you get your first job, and then the same thing happens when you get your first job. Come on, kitty, kitty, kitty. You're going to get that promotion, right? You're going to get that promotion, you're going to become the head. So my wish for the game, so change the game, right? Let's change the game. I had this experience, right? So my life map, this is something that I've done, and I encourage everybody to do it. Take a look back now, stop right now where you are, and think, where was I born? And go through all the highlights in your life. So this is what happened to me. I went from high school to university, and I thought, wow, I'm going to be a computer engineer, I'm going to take over Nortel. They won't be corrupt, I'm going to make $1 million, take over the world. That's great. So, life map. So, bam, there's computer engineering. I get there, that's how I felt. Because I was good at it, but I didn't like it. I came home my first semester and I had a 3.8 out of 4.0 GPA. I was all excited, you know. No, sorry, I wasn't excited. My mother was excited. My mother says, wow, that's amazing. You really are going to take over Nortel, aren't you? And I said, yeah, if I was going back, but I'm not. because that's what I did with my computer. So I had to find a happy place because I can't have access to hitting computers all day. So I went into my happy place and I did what I call my life map. So I took a little look back, I went back. You know what I did? I actually went to career counselors and I went to academic advisors and all this kind of stuff, and I answered 7,000 questions, and you know what the answer printed out at the top was? You know what they told me I could be? Anybody? Take a guess? Nope. Somebody said it. Somebody said computer engineer. Wow, amazing. Thank you for telling me what I'm good at. Now what am I going to do with my life? I've already tried that and I smashed a computer. So I had to find a happy place. So then I did my little life map and I went back and I figured out what are the things in my life that I actually like to do. So I had spent most of my life coaching rugby, soccer, volleyball, hockey, traveling all over the place. So I thought, okay, well that must mean something, right? Then I put people in awkward situations and give them all kinds of challenges. We take kids on 5-day retreats and we give them food for 3 days and figure out what they do after that. And then I started working one-on-one with people and saying, hey, you know what? There's tons of people in my position that have actually went through that whole system. And we, like Yusuf mentioned, we've done tons of different things, teaching kids how to read through baseball, going to Australia and building a soccer dome so that kids can learn math so that they're not sitting in the classroom, all kinds of things. At the end of the day, it was all about passion and figuring that stuff out. And I have a little bit of creativity here, and I see I'm getting the time sign here in a minute, so I'm going to kind of quickly go over creativity for you, because I think that's important in schools that maybe we don't quite get to. So really, creativity for me is summed up in one question: why are there so many freaking chairs all over the world? Why don't we just have one chair? I don't understand it. Did some Neanderthal sit down a rock and go, oh my God, my butt hurts, I need a cushion, right? So, and then some lazy bugger was sitting at a desk and said, well, I want to get that book, but I don't want to get up. So he wheeled it over, right? So in that kind of part, right, what is career chaos then? Does that mean if you get an art degree that you have to be an artist? Not necessarily. Maybe that's something that you like to do. Maybe it's something that brings about some kind of creativity or passion for you. And there's all kinds, I mean, in that first slide, you saw that, right? So it's not as easy as just saying, well, I'm going to be an astronaut, right? So I'm going to go to aerospace school and do all that kind of stuff, right? So there is an element to creativity. You can't just put it out there like a lot of people say, well, just do whatever you want, because you will get laughed at. You have to be creative about it, right? You have to create the 800th type of chair that we have in this world. So, these are my final questions for you. What will you choose? Will you let it die? What it is has to be you. Whatever it is, you have to live it. You have to own it. It has to be you. And it has to be a happy you. Because believe me, when you go to university or you go out in the real world, nobody's going to give you the gold star. Your mom and dad aren't going to put your little reports on the fridge anymore. So you have to love it. You have to love it. You have to love whatever you're doing. So that you can answer these questions. And this, what defines you? I'm a storyteller. I don't do anything else than that. My dad wants me to be a plumber. I'm a storyteller. What kind of job title is that, he says? Be a plumber. Be a whatever. But have a title, and I refuse to define myself. So it's a continual recreation of yourself and finding that passion. So my TEDx Youth Ottawa challenge to you is, if you can answer this question at the end of this day, next week, next month, next year, that's what I want to hear about. I want to know, are you doing what you love to do? And that's a simple question. It's something that we can all answer, and if you're not doing it, then change it. So thank you very much.